the blueprint. Study my movement, more than the 2 cents. Was losing, now I'm oozing with success. Now I got the tools to beat the stress. I lose cause I'm a step ahead of you with no.
Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. Today we'll be discussing Monday Night Raw from January the 25th, 2022. An actual good episode of Monday Night Raw. I know, right? It's almost as if competent people took over the show. And we got a nice little mixture of wrestling and segments. We got some good character work. We got some good in-ring work. I mean, for Christ's sake, this is all I've ever asked for. This is all I wanted. Have a couple of good matches. Have a couple of good segments. Or at least some segments. All right, break up the monotony of all the matches. It ain't a house show. You can't just have match after match after match. You have to put something in between. So they had enough matches. And the segments didn't go on too long. And the crowd was into everything. There was one bullshit finish. Okay, I'll give them that one. You know. But for the most part, I thoroughly enjoyed all 3 hours of Raw. I can't believe it. So let's start the show with the chatter of Ronda Rousey. Supposedly, WWE is pushing for Ronda Rousey to return. It's like, yes, of course they would be. If they reached out to the Iconics to come into the Royal Rumble, if they reached out to Mickie James to come into the Royal Rumble, you think they wouldn't contact Ronda Rousey to see, hey, you want to take a break from breastfeeding to come and score a huge paycheck, even if it's just for her to get thrown over the top rope? Now, some people may say, why would you bring Ronda in if she's not going to win? I would say, why would you bring Ronda in if she's not going to win at WrestleMania? Like, if she's not going to win this match, then what are you bringing her back for? But if she wins this match, then she got to win at Mania, right? I mean, she's Girl Brock, at least as far as WWE is concerned. Now, if Ronda were to win, that of course does not negate Bianca Belair and the Becky Lynch story, because Ronda could win the Royal Rumble and challenge Charlotte for the title. Now, it is an obvious story between Becky and Ronda. That would screw up, not only the Liv Morgan story, but also the Bianca Belair story. And WWE is likely to do something like that. They'll put the kibosh on anything if they feel like something is more marketable. If it's something that's more marketable, and Ronda Rousey, without a shadow of a doubt, is more marketable, bigger name, bigger price tag, marketability is there. They're trying to fill up this huge arena. It might be worth doing. It's a good gambit to do, but I'm not surprised that WWE would reach out to Ronda Rousey. It's like, why wouldn't they? When I saw the Mickie James thing, kind of made everything possible in terms of who are they reaching out to in order to be in the Rumble that they can actually contact. It's like Ronda would have been on the short list along with Lita, Trish, and the Bella Twins. It's like if they contacted the Bella Twins and brought them in, if they brought in Mickie James, if they actually asked the Iconics, and I'm going to talk about them in a second, if, they brought in Summer Rae, and maybe Alicia Fox is going to be there, and Lita's going to be there, then obviously they're going to ask Ronda Rousey. So I don't see how this is a big deal that they even contacted Ronda Rousey. If the big deal would have been if they announced Ronda Rousey, which they didn't do. So it could be a surprise that Ronda Rousey is going to make the big return. That it would be fun, but we have to ask about her dedication. She was working pretty regularly when she was under contract before. That would not be the case now. It couldn't be, because she just had a baby. So she definitely wouldn't be trying to show up every week. It would have to be a Brock situation. Like I said, she had to be Girl Brock. It'd have to be short segments, every once in a while, via video or something like that. So it's possible. If Ronda Rousey shows up, Ronda Rousey likely wins. I will say that. That's for sure. Unless they got another thing planned for her, which I don't see the point. It seems that there's still that dangling plot thread with her and Becky. There's also a potential plot thread with her and Charlotte. You could always double back to the Becky thing at some other point in time. You could do the Charlotte thing. Obviously, Mickie James wants to continue making appearances in WWE, and no doubt she's going to show up. And she's been talking about this thing she wants to do with Charlotte. I don't know what that is. I hope it doesn't involve Knockouts title versus SmackDown title. That would be weird, especially for Impact. Because Vince ain't going for it no other way than if Charlotte is going over. So if Ronda comes in, Ronda wins. That's just basically the long and the short of it. Will she show up? I would say 60% yes. I would give it a good 60%. She's had the baby a while now. It has not it's a newborn, but it ain't, a full year, but it's been several months. I think it's been like 5 or 6 months. So maybe she can get away from it for one night, couple of nights a year. They would have to figure out how to do that, but I can see it being a possibility. Now the Iconics, or the Inspiration, as they're known in Impact, were apparently also offered an opportunity to come to the Royal Rumble, and they turned it down. Makes sense, considering the situation revolved around their release and the issues that they had with not being used. It seems very strange that they would offer to use people that they didn't use before, like Mickie James. Like when she was under the roster, you couldn't get Mickie on TV. Now they put Mickie on everything, and she's been invited to the Royal Rumble. So now it's like, the Iconics being like, well, look, they asked us too, and we were like, no, we don't want to do it, because I can understand why they wouldn't. Why would you? You're in a decent place right now. Their appearance could help, Impact. To have all of Impact's women's champions in the match. That could be nice. But, they're going to go in to lose. They're not going to win. And there might still be some animosity there. So I understand it. I get it. I dig it. Not going to miss them. It just would have been a nice little pop. And that's really all it is, one big farewell, which, and who knows, they might have even been working somebody. They might have said, look, we got asked, but we said no, and then they pop up anyway. Who knows? But it's been an interesting story that I saw tossed around. I don't really care that much about the Iconics, even though I think that they're fun characters, especially when they were at their peak, when they were on the upswing. They were really funny, but we don't really need them. We don't really need the Iconics, and them not showing up is really just kind of screwing the fans. It ain't really, their fans, let's put it like that. It ain't really screwing people who kind of were iffy on the Iconics anyway, who were kind of like, if they show up, okay. If they don't, who cares? So, I think Ronda is a much bigger deal. I think Lita and Mickie are much bigger gets. Getting Trish to show up is a much bigger deal. But at this point, I would have to say probably the only way you can get me to mark out at the Women's Royal Rumble is if Kaya Stevens, Awesome Kong, shows up. That would make me mark out. If she was asked to come into the Royal Rumble and she actually shows up, that would make me mark out, because she wasn't in WWE very long, but she does have a huge reputation. And if she's willing to, I know she's retired from wrestling, but if she's willing to do it and they can keep that a secret, that would be huge. Or that would make me mark out for the Women's Royal Rumble, but that'd be it. I can't really think of any other women. Do I expect Nia Jax to be there? Yes. Yes. I expect Nia Jax to show up. Most people aren't going to turn down the payday. If anything else, even if there's no opportunity of anything in the future, it's a simple payday. Why not go make that quick money? Even if you're not going to be in there very long, she can go in there and do the Kevin Nash spot where she bowls over a couple of people, get thrown over the top rope. I mean, you could always, if you can get Awesome Kong and Nia Jax in the same match, you could always tease that. Like, look what we can do. But it's not going to happen. One of them is retired and the other one is borderline retired. Go ahead and tease it. But that would be the biggest name I think they could be able to get. unless maybe Gail Kim is asked to do it. But I don't. Fail Gail is on my shit list. Fail Gail and Christy Hemme, they on my shit list along with Lita. I really don't care about them, but it would just be cool because we don't really see them do much of anything. So it will be nice, but I don't care. I do kind of want Victoria to show back up though. That would be fun. I think Victoria being in the match would be great. She needs to get recognized more for what she did. Victoria was one of those women who was kind of like the bridge between the divas and the women's era, where she did the bikini photo shoots and she went out there and had like the first, I think she had one of the first no DQ matches with women. It was her and Trish Stratus at Survivor Series. They had a really fun match. I think there was blood in that match too. I think Lita broke her face? Not Lita, Trish. I think Trish broke her nose or something in that match. So Victoria definitely needs more spotlight. So hopefully she's in it. That would warm my heart. It wouldn't make me mark out, but it would warm my heart because I know she did show up at the Rumble last year, but it was no crowd. So hopefully she can be there this year too, and just to get that reaction and get recognized for all the good stuff that she did, and hopefully she can get nodded in the Hall of Fame too. That would be nice too. So let's get into Raw because I did enjoy Raw. All right, so Raw began with the weigh-in between Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley. And Brock comes out in a cowboy hat, and the internet is now enamored with Brock Lesnar in a cowboy hat. And we've got Viking Brock, now we've got Cowboy Brock. And we was just getting we got Lumberjack Brock too. So we just getting all the range. We got Comedian Brock. He's just doing so much in this run. We have to ask the question, how many, did they put more zeros on his paycheck and now he cares more? Because he's talking. He's showing tremendous personality. This is the personality that Brock was showing right near the end of his first run, when he was doing the sombrero things with Eddie Guerrero. And, that was Brock being fun and Brock being funny and Brock, cutting loose and chilling. And of course it led to, that storyline with him and Vince where I want to see the real Brock Lesnar. So I like this side of Brock. And they showing Lashley. Lashley is dead serious. This is what Lashley wanted. This is Lashley's dream match. Not really Brock's. It's Lashley's dream match. He's the one who's focused. Brock is goofing around. They do the weigh-ins, simple weigh-ins. Lashley weighs in at 273 pounds. They boosted that shit by 20 pounds. Somebody exposed the business, because that's what they do on Twitter. It's always some nerd looking to expose the business. So somebody took a picture of the scale and then zoomed in, and Lashley was like a shade over 250 in terms of how much he weighed. But kayfabe wins all the time. If the almighty Bobby Lashley is 273 pounds, and goddamn it, that's what he is. Just like if Andre the Giant is 7'4", 500 pounds, and he is. I don't give a shit. Right? I don't care how much he really weighs. This is a work of fiction. I don't care how much he really weighs. So then MVP cuts a promo, says that 273 pounds of almighty killing machine. Lashley is closer to a god than man, and he's bottled lightning, which I loved. That was a fantastic line. Then he says that Lashley's going to gain weight. He's going to gain the exact amount of weight of that WWE Championship. And Lesnar kind of laughed at it, like, okay, sure, whatever. Lesnar doesn't take off any of his gear, left his boots on, left his jacket on, got on the scale, 286 pounds, which probably means he probably weighed just a couple of bucks over Lashley. So maybe give him about 260, 270 in real weight. Lashley was offended that Brock wasn't taking this seriously and said this is going to be Brock's shortest title run, and that's a spoiler. Lesnar kind of ran down the what if that on Sunday on Sunday morning, the newspaper would read that Bobby Who beat Brock Lesnar with the Hurt Lock. And he laughed at him. So I did like this. I love this. They're telling this story about Brock being overconfident. And the overconfidence could turn around and bite him in the ass. Now, the storyline with Roman is not over. It's pretty much they hit the pause button on it. I saw a lot of people say, well, we got to have Roman interfere and cost Brock the match. And I think that makes a lot of sense, to have Roman restart the issues by having Brock get screwed. But then you have to ask the question, how does Brock get his match with Roman? Now, Brock is a free agent. He doesn't need to win the Royal Rumble. He could, in theory, lose the WWE Championship to Bobby Lashley, then win the Elimination Chamber match and challenge Roman Reigns. He could do that. I would like that plan because Brock has never been in an Elimination Chamber match. It would be an incredibly unique situation where Brock can start the match and absolutely obliterate guys one at a time. That fucking rules, okay? If they're going to do that, then by all means, have Roman interfere in this match. Fuck over Lesnar. Lesnar loses to Lashley. Lashley gets the big win. Good shit there. Nobody's going to be upset about that. You take Brock, put Brock in the Elimination Chamber with Sheamus and some other guys. The winner has to fight Roman. Roman can't get into the cage because it's a cage. Brock kills everybody. He just murks everybody in the ring. And we get short matches. For instance, I've been looking for a Brock Sheamus match. And if you get Sheamus in the Elimination Chamber, that means you get Sheamus and Brock for at least 3 or 4 minutes. And that could be fun. That could rule. And then, when Sheamus is out, Brock is doing his thing, waiting for the next guy to come in. Then you can get Brock versus Nakamura or something like that. Or Brock versus Sami Zayn in a segment like that. Or something like that where Brock could just eat all of these guys. And Brock Roman at WrestleMania for the Universal title. That works for me. What I think they want to do, though, is maybe do the title for title thing. I know everybody's saying it's not going to happen. But y'all don't know WWE, man. WWE would do stupid shit just to do it. Just because they'll say to themselves, what's a bigger marketable draw? They don't always service the story like they should. If they service the story like they should, then Roman and Brock will be wrestling at Royal Rumble, and Brock would not be the WWE champion right now. Sometimes they do fan service shit, like having Brock in that 5-way. That's just fan service. And, which is, them reaching out for the marketing dollars. So I like this plan. I haven't figured out who I think is going to win, but I'm 80% sure that when I do my predictions, I'm going to say Lesnar is going to win, mainly because I just expect Lesnar to win. Bianca Belair defeated Queen Zelina in a one-on-one action. It was a pretty fun match. They kind of botched the finish, but it wasn't really all that noticeable unless you were really, really looking for it. A fun match made Bianca Belair look good. Queen Zelina looked good. She looked a little bit more believable this time around than when they had their matches before. But Zelina is just so small that it's hard to make her matches with Bianca look believable. Next match, Damien Priest versus Kevin Owens. So Kevin Owens was offended that the microphone holder implied that he faked his injury last week, saying that he fought through the pain because of his t-shirt, which says just keep fighting. And it says that he's still hurt this week, but and he turned around to his shirt, says just keep fighting. So Damien Priest versus Kevin Owens was a really good match. I mean, it was close to a banger. Very close. Owens tried to fake another injury to throw off Damien Priest. Damien Priest kept attacking him because he didn't buy it, and he didn't buy into it this time. He didn't bite. So he kept fighting. Owens kept hugging the ropes. Damien Priest separated, would give him the break, but Owens would never come out of the ropes. Damien Priest kept kicking him. The referee eventually threw it out. Referee actually did try to keep the match going this time by separating them and everything, but Damien Priest was just too much, too upset, and Kevin Owens wins by disqualification. I don't mind the finish. I don't mind the finish. Sonya Deville would then bark at Damien Priest about keeping his temper under control, and I'm guessing the third match will actually take place probably on the kickoff show of the Royal Rumble, where they'll probably do the no disqualification match between the two of them, which would be great. It would be great, actually. Damian Priest is, I think both of these guys have to be in the conversation about who could win the Royal Rumble, because the men's Royal Rumble is pretty much wide open. And I think everybody essentially said, up is Big E. He's the only one who could possibly win. But I think there's an off chance that a guy like Damian Priest could win. But he would have to not be the United States champion in order for that to happen. And I was saying to my brother as we watched this, if Damian Priest lost the title, that would pretty much tell me that he's probably going to win the Rumble. But he didn't lose the title, so. They're just going to continue their storyline, which, okay, sure. Next match, Rhea Ripley, Dana Brooke, and Liv Morgan versus Carmella, Tamina, and Nikki Ash. Rhea Ripley submits Carmella to win this match. Everybody cut a promo about winning the Royal Rumble. I was obviously as perturbed as everybody else at the concept of Carmella and Nikki being on the same team. After all the trash Nikki had to go through with Carmella, it's almost as if everything was pushed to the side. And this is what I don't like about WWE style booking, and something that they would have remembered in the past, that, these two didn't get along. And maybe, the reason Carmella lost would have been because of Nikki and she didn't care or whatever. Rhea Ripley is just another face in the crowd right now. Not really a fan of that. Dana Brooke and Liv Morgan. Dana Brooke, of course, is nothing. I just have a feeling she's going to go in that match and it's just going to be the 24/7 title. Get winning all over again. It's going to be 100 different 24/7 championships the moment Dana Brooke comes in. And then eventually it's going to end up back with the men. In any event, Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley they're kind of legitimate threats to win the Women's Royal Rumble. Liv Morgan only because they really did do a lot of work on building up her character. I don't think she should win. She certainly shouldn't win. But again, WWE, they put the belt. They had Sheamus win the Rumble though at one point. They known to do weird things. They don't always go with the obvious choice until tell the appropriate story. If they're going to veer away from the story, then veer away with Rhea Ripley. That should be the one. If you're going to go with anybody and you're going to say fuck the story, Rhea Ripley or Ronda Rousey would be the only two options I would take. I'm thinking Charlotte's going to be in the match though in order to build up her next opponent. More than likely because Sasha Banks' injury and Toni Storm leaving kind of threw her in for a loop. And, so it kind of weakened her division. So it is what it is. So we got the next thing. The Alpha Academy Mental Aptitude Challenge, a spelling bee. What made this funny was the botching. Guys were misspelling words. Otis misspelled Emmenthal. He misspelled it, and he asked for a definition, or he asked for the word to get used in a sentence, and he was given a definition. So all the nerds were in a tizzy about this, like, oh my god, it's such a horrible segment. Look at how they're screwing this up. It's like, man, look, it's a comedy segment. Nobody taking this shit that seriously. Clearly they're goofing around. So Otis knew how to spell Emmenthal when he found out it was a cheese. Because, Otis and food. They're sticking with that, right? Riddle knew how to spell his word because of weed. So he realized how he weighs ounces. And Randy is laughing. Randy is laughing at this nonsense. Gable misspelled dissolution because he thought it was dissolution, which was a different word. And because he was so cocky, he didn't really realize that he spelled the wrong word. And he was pissed and blamed the pronunciation of the word, which is a pretty good complaint to have. Randy Orton had an easy word, dumbbell, which he spelled correctly. Gable protested that the word was too easy and that, of course, he could spell dumbbell. He looks at dumbbells all the time, and his partner is a dumbbell. So then Randy Orton got really upset and said that how about he shuts Gable up right now, and that suggested the two of them have a one-on-one match. Now, under normal circumstances, you would say, God damn it, I just saw this match not too long ago. But at the same time, the crowd was so into it that I was like, all right, let's go for it one more time. And my goodness, they went out there and had probably their best match yet. This match was really good. You know, Chad Gable he's really getting an opportunity now. He has worked and worked and worked. And him and Randy Orton managed to entertain this crowd with both their segment and their match. Masterful shit. They had the crowd in their hand the entire time. There was nobody booing and saying that the segment was boring. It was a bunch of weirdos on Twitter that hated it. But most other people who were there liked the segment. Most people I saw thought the segment was at least interesting because it was fun and it was funny and everything was silly about it. It wasn't serious. But he definitely knew that it was serious business when the match started, and the match was good. It wasn't just, Gable looked like a goof and got hit with an RKO and pinned. He looked like a legitimate threat with that ankle lock. And Riddle had to attack Otis in order to kind of help Randy indirectly. And Randy wins, of course. So this was all fantastic. All of the Alpha Academy RK Bro stuff is really fun. I'm not sure I want to do 3 weeks of the mental aptitude test or the academic challenges, especially since one of them is going to be a scooter race next week. I don't get that. I thought it was supposed to be academic. Scooter racing is not academic. But, Riddle says it reminds him of gym class, so I guess we're stuck with it. So, there that go. I'm sure. Whatever. I'll take that. I'll take positivity and entertainment any way I can get it. So, I'll allow it. So, Alexa Bliss has a therapy session where the doctor wants to know when was the first time she met Lily. And Alexa Bliss tells this story about being bullied. And Lily has always been there for her. And she got pushed off the monkey bars. And when she woke up, Lily was there with her beady eyes and her red hair and yada, yada, yada. And they went and had fun and ate ice cream and gumdrops. And she never saw the bullies again. And she kept going on and on about all the fun things her and Lily did together. And I was kind of like, It seems what they're trying to do is make Lily her alter ego, like her Cactus Jack, like her dangerous side, where she, goes to her place, like Randy Orton goes to that place, like Alexa Bliss goes to that place when she's bullied and picked on and pushed around, and then Lily sort of as another persona takes over and handles the problem for her. So it's like dissociative identity disorder, I think it's called. That could be interesting, where you could have Alexa Bliss as a two-sided coin. That could be interesting. They need to get rid of this magic shit, though. I'm okay with her just them tamping down the magic and then going in a different direction with mental illness. It's weird, but it works. People like wrestlers having alternate personalities and stuff like that. I don't think anybody has a problem with that. We've been doing this for years with wrestlers having alternate personalities for different reasons. Andre the Giant wore a mask sometimes. Junkyard Dog wore a mask sometimes. Bill Watts would work as the Midnight Rider. I think that was also something Dusty Rhodes would do. So I actually might have had that backward. It might have been Dusty Rhodes was a Midnight Rider. So we've done this alternate personality thing before in wrestling. So if we want to do that, fine. It would be like her Fiend. Okay, cool. But we didn't really get a full conclusion of it because they kind of just let her continue to ramble and they went on to something else. But it's just me guessing that they're going to do some type of dissociative personality disorder kind of thing where she was involved in some type of trauma. And that allowed her Lily personality to wake up. And now she's been dealing with this ever since. You know, okay, I guess I can buy that. It has a spiritual element, which goes with the goddess sort of concept, where it's actually the almost exact storyline that they're doing Damien Priest. It's where Damien Priest is always pushed to the limit, and all of a sudden he becomes something else. So it's possible, I guess, that they could do that. I'm not against it, but so it's all right. I would have preferred, for Lily to be like a demon that is within her that needs to be exorcised out, and for this therapy session to be more like an exorcism, where Alexa Bliss is tied to a bed, and maybe not somebody with a holy Bible, but somebody is trying to get the Lily persona outside of her. That to me would have been a lot more dramatic, and probably would have been a little bit more fun. Because she could have yelled and fought and had chains and all that kind of stuff. And it really would have told the story well of the Fiend, poisoning her so deeply that it's like poisoning her spirit. But this storyline is completely off the rails without him. So I'm thinking, is he coming back? Could be, I don't know. It's a good question. I think ultimately that should be the be of it. How I would have done it, let's say I would have had him come back and he would have been the doctor. It would have been like, if you guys remember Claw from Inspector Gadget, where he's always stroking this cat and you never seen him, I would have had like a hand stroking this cat and you never would have saw who the doctor looked like. And she'd have been like strapped to the bed or whatever. And it would have been obviously another man's voice talking. But then at the last vignette, the cameras would have moved over and it would have been Bray Wyatt trying to cure Alexa Bliss. And that would have been fun, because you wouldn't think it to yourself, is he really trying to cure her or is he trying to make it worse? Because he was the one who did it in the first place. But if you don't have that option, what can you really do except, just take it on the chin that we're stuck with this and find some way out of it. So hopefully they do this. She's a different personality and we tuck that personality away and we're off to do something else with an Alexa Bliss character that actually works. All right. So Austin Theory is with Vince McMahon. Vince said that he was doing good and Austin Theory thinks that he will win the Royal Rumble. But more than that, he thinks Vince McMahon is going to give him a late number. He says, how about 26 or 27 or something? And Vince is like, what? You need to worry about AJ Styles. So Austin Theory, of course, runs down AJ Styles' credentials and is like, I got to wrestle this guy. And he's like, okay. And Vince tells him to bring back a good selfie, which of course he didn't do, because Austin Theory and AJ Styles had the banger of the night on a show that had some really good matches. This match ruled all others. AJ Styles really made Austin Theory look good. He really went out of his way to have a good match with this kid. Austin Theory reminds me a lot of Randy Orton. And he needs a Triple H. And I think that's what Vince is trying to do here. Is he's trying to be the young guy, trying to be the old guy, the old sage who mentors the young guy. That's what he's trying to do. But I'm not sure if we have enough oomph behind it. Like we're not entirely sure why Vince likes Austin Theory. Like we know that he likes the gumption of Austin Theory. He likes the nerve of him. This is why Austin Theory stole the egg. And Vince was like, wait a minute. You remind me a lot of myself, So he's trying to imbue himself into Austin Theory. He's trying to live vicariously through Austin Theory. But Vince's voice doesn't have the same strength and power that it did before. And therefore, it does come across like a feeble old man. Like Austin Theory is going to the nursing home to visit Mr. McMahon, because he's not the same Vince McMahon that he was. So, but there's nobody else better who could have pulled this off. As far as I'm concerned, Vince is the GOAT when it comes to this kind of shit. because he can change your career one way or the other. And everybody is trying to perform in order to impress him. But Austin Theory has the extra pressure. Now, little peek behind the curtain. I watched the 2003 Royal Rumble for my Royal Rumble retrospective. And during that match, John Cena is rapping. And he's talking about wanting to show Vinnie Mac that he has ruthless aggression. That's why he was going to win the Royal Rumble. He wants to prove to Vinnie Mac he got ruthless aggression. And I was like, I remembered that promo when Vince did that. And, he's talked about ruthless aggression. And it's like, that Vince is gone. Because this was in 2004 or 2005. This was 17, 18 years ago. But the sentiment is still the same. Austin Theory is in the John Cena position where he's trying to show he's got what it takes. And I like that. So the storyline isn't really all awkward to me. I understand it. It's the performances that have been very weird. Because we couldn't understand Vince for like 2 or 3 weeks. And a lot of people are pretending they don't get why Vince is doing all this stuff. But it's like, it was pretty obvious. They told us from the beginning when Austin Theory stole the egg. Vince didn't kill him or have him arrested because he liked the gumption. And this stands to reason. Vince always likes when people have a spine. Like when he challenged AJ Styles and ended up getting attacked. When he kind of pushed the buttons of CM Punk. When he pushed the buttons of Kevin Owens. Like when he challenged Roman Reigns and used Sheamus to take down Roman Reigns. This is kind of a recurring theme with Vince, where he finds a guy, he thinks there's something within him. And I just talked about this a second ago. When Brock Lesnar started to have fun, he ended up losing the title. And Vince got in his face. I want to see the real Brock Lesnar. Show me the real Brock Lesnar. And he just doesn't have that energy anymore. But the storyline is kind of the same. Vince has been doing this off and on forever, with him needing to get eye to eye with a guy and give him a mission. And then the guy has to go out there and complete the mission. It still matters. He's still who he is. He's just older. And now I'm very interested in what kind of conversation Austin Theory is going to have with Mr. McMahon next week. It probably won't even be next week. It'll probably be Sunday. And if I had to take a guess, I would say Vince is going to take him out of the Royal Rumble. If that's going to be my guess, is that Austin Theory is going to get snatched from the Royal Rumble because of AJ Styles. And then maybe he'll throw AJ Styles over the top rope. Just going to take a wild guess at that. Still think we should have AJ Styles versus Edge, though. But let's move on. Veer Mahan is still coming. They got a lot of nerve talking about this Veer guy. He ain't coming. He ain't never coming. They did a split screen promo between Doudrop and Becky Lynch, where Becky Lynch talked and said that she paved the ways for the likes of Doudrop, got her into this match and wants to thank you, and said that she needs to know her place, and that until she interfered and got Doudrop into this match, she was just a name to fill the roster. Doudrop says that Becky Lynch helped because she thought beating up on the new girl would be easy, but now she's just going to enjoy breaking all of her ribs, and that she will show Becky Lynch some respect. Nope, that's not what she said. Strike that, reverse it. She will show Becky Lynch some gratitude when Becky Lynch shows her some respect. And when she said that she was just a person to fill the roster, Doudrop took off her microphone and went and found Becky Lynch, who continued to rant and rave about how great she is in this shimmering thing. She looked like she was wearing a disco ball. It was awful. Anyway, Doudrop went and found her and rammed into her like a raging bull. And Becky Lynch was just pop, 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 pop. It's like a small child was like patting you on the back. How she was hitting Doudrop, and she got eventually rammed into the wall. And then a bunch of referees or whatever came in and pulled her off. I was like, okay, at least this finish hot. I didn't mind this. They did do a good job of, making this match believable. Dewdrop is so big that this match is, of course, she makes for a dangerous opponent, but I think it's pretty clear that Becky Lynch is going on to WrestleMania at the very least. So we don't we it's just it's no drama. No drama. Not enough drama. Not enough could Dewdrop win. Not enough of that. Not enough of that. Rey Mysterio is on the cover of 2K22. Says that he wants to be around to see Dominic get on the cover eventually. They have a little bit of a moment where they're joking about throwing each other over the top rope, and Rey thinks that Dominic is joking. He's clearly not. So they have the matches. The Street Profits versus the Mysterios. Very good match. The Mysterios win. Montez Ford is such an amazing athlete. I mean, this dude, I don't even know if he played sports. I know he was in the Marines, or was it the Army or something. I don't know if he played like collegiate sports or anything, but the dude is an amazing athlete. He broke out the Rolling Thunder, which is, I was waiting for somebody else to do it. For Christ, I can't believe the Rolling Thunder has been around for so long and nobody else thought to do it. But he's fantastic. After the match, they did the obligatory everybody throws everybody over the top rope spot. Where Rey actually counters Dominic trying to throw him out of the ring. What a dick. Dawkins threw Montez Ford over the top rope. So, it was all in good fun. It wasn't supposed to be serious or anything people getting their feelings about, but it's clearly Dominic is going to be upset about this. So, I'm really interested in where they're going with the Mysterios. I believe I saw an article where Rey kind of said that he wanted to wrestle Dominic at WrestleMania. But maybe on TV he said that he would never do it, but he really kind of wants to do it. I'm not sure. I'm not really sure. I know they had the match already where they won the tag team titles, and maybe this is the next logical step, is that him versus Dominic at WrestleMania. But I think that doesn't make sense unless you really do something different with Dominic. And it goes back to Legado del Fantasma. You gotta, man, if Dominic was to turn heel, he needs to have a new presentation. He needs to have a new look. There would be nothing better than putting him with Legado del Fantasma. And him wearing maybe him wearing a different mask. Him wearing Fantasma's mask or something like that. That would be fucking great. It would be fucking great. It may not speak to anybody except people who understand AAA, but, it would be a spit in the face for, El Hijo del Fantasma or Santos Escobar to take up another protege and give him his family's mask. But it's a Mysterio. Like, that would be crazy. That would be crazy. You try to, I think that would really hook like the Hispanic audience. I think they'd really be down for that. A Mysterio that's been adopted by the Phantasmas. That'd be fucking cool. I'm telling you, I've been talking about this shit for like 6 months. I'm in fantasy booking and fan fiction and that shit to death. But I just keep thinking about how cool it is. All right, let's move on. So Seth Rollins, this was his first appearance all night, which is very rare. He said that it was never about the Usos and that he can beat Roman. He's got Roman's number. But now he's the only guy who could put Roman in his place and that he will see Roman on Friday. Then he cackled. And that was kind of it. I don't think that there's a chance in hell of Seth Rollins winning, but it ought to be a good match. It ought to be pretty good. So Maurice's birthday celebration was the closing segment on the show. They had several gifts and lots of security because apparently they expected trouble. So the first gift was a portrait, an original Schamberger that looks nothing like anything Schamberger has ever done, which was nice. So it was a picture of Mike and Maurice, where Maurice looked like a princess or a queen or something like that. He looked like a conquering emperor. I think he might have been dressed like Napoleon to go with the French theme. I'm certain that that's kind of what they were going with here. So That was interesting. The second gift was like a purse or a pencil case or something like that. It had like words on it, and it was kind of shimmering. It was very weird stuff. And then the third box is Maurice wanted the giant box, and everybody saw the giant box and knew that something was up. Miz thought that it was a gift for him from Maurice. She was like, no, why would I get you a gift? It's not your birthday. And so they order security to open that box. Security rips the box open, and the brick is in the box. And I laughed hard as hell. I'm not even gonna hold you up. That shit popped the shit out of me. It was so stupid, but it popped the hell out of me. I did not expect to see a brick in that gigantic box. I really didn't. I was hoping it wouldn't be anything corny like Edge in the box or a Big Dick Johnson jumping out of the box in a diaper or something like that. I was hoping and praying it wouldn't be something like that. So maybe I think part of my laughter was, thank God they didn't put like a grown oily man in a box and then he jumped out and danced. But at the same time, the fact that they had a brick as a present and then through to the package where Maurice hit Beth Phoenix with a brick was awesome. It was pretty dope. So then after they gloated about giving Maurice a concussion with this brick, they decided to sing Happy Birthday. And Mike forced the crowd to sing Happy Birthday, which of course none of them did. They all booed it. He was singing off key, absolutely horribly. It was fantastic. Edge and Beth Phoenix come out there. The long and the short of their promo is that Maurice and Miz have screwed up, and now they're gonna get that work. So they come marching to the ring, and they beat up all of the security. They just beat up everybody. Beth Phoenix is slamming dudes. They're spearing guys. Beth Phoenix is tearing guys apart. She's yoked. Mad Max Beth Phoenix is yoked. Her arms are big as hell. Edge is cut up nicely. Miz and Maurice bail out of the ring. They leave the ring to the grit couple who tear everything up. And this was the closing segment of the Go Home show. So they didn't hard sell the Royal Rumble. They had been essentially hard selling the Rumble all night. They instead hard sold the A story of their show, which has been Edge and Miz. Lesnar and Lashley are kind of the B story. They kind of been doing very little with them, but there's very little that needs to be done. It's the names with them. They don't need to shoot angles and shoot a bunch of angles and cut a bunch of promos. I mean, you can show just these guys in the gym, and that's enough. Like that, they showed a vignette on Twitter with Lashley in the gym. And I'm just like, this is what pro wrestlers should be doing. Like, well, we got too many scrawny dudes out here, and these guys are packing it. Even in this segment, you got Edge is shredded. Beth Phoenix is shredded. It makes sense that Miz and Maurice are not shredded. They're not gym rats. They're just arrogant heels. So it makes sense for them not to be in a situation where they're ready to engage in combat. Now, I do agree that maybe it shouldn't have been the final segment, but at the same time, if you want to get people to watch the show until the end, you got to put stars on at the end. And if you put Edge on in the middle of the show, and then who you put at the main event? You do the weigh-in at the main event? They weren't going to do anything in the weigh-in. Are you going to put the U.S. title at the main event? You going to put the Mysterios on the main event? Not like Rey Mysterio can't main event against the Street Profits. Not a 3-hour show. I mean, come on. So you put Edge and Miz on last as a way of saying, you guys know something is going to happen. Tune in to see what it is. So that's cool. I'm cool with it. I thoroughly enjoyed Raw from top to bottom. I really don't have any major complaints. Just some nitpicks here and there about, the camera work in the wedding not the wedding, but the birthday segment, because the camera work was so shit, and it's almost always shit. Beth Phoenix beating up a bunch of guys, which, they got to do what they got to do. They're trying to get Beth over because she hasn't been in the ring in a match in a long time. My question, of course, is Miz and Edge going to pull double duty? Will they also be in the Royal Rumble? I don't see why they wouldn't. I would imagine they would be in the Royal Rumble. I would have to usually think that they kind of have to be, right? So this ought to be fun. I think their mixed tag match is going to be fun and enjoyable, and a lot of people who are complaining are going to end up, eating their words. If for nothing else, then Maurice is going to get destroyed by Beth Phoenix, and it's going to be funny. And this is going to be a nice little match. It's going to be a nice little break in between the Rumble matches and the big star power of the main event matches. It's ought to be fun. It's going to be different. And I'm all for different things and people doing different things with these characters on these shows. But I definitely want Edge and Miz in the Royal Rumble. I definitely want that. And if Edge hadn't already won it, then I would say Edge would be a good choice to win the Rumble. But he's already won it. He won it last year. So, but let me know what you guys thought of Raw on the comment section below. Like, share, subscribe. Hit the like button, please, if you got this far. And I'll talk to you guys later, man. Peace.